Good afternoon, everyone, ladies and gents. I hope everyone is doing well today. We have not done this in months. Life gets in the way constantly, but that's okay. So I'm sure everyone has heard about the shooting up in Minneapolis this past week, and that's why we have come back to do this. Now, we only have three of us here, and one of us is new. So I'm going to start with who isn't new, and go ahead and introduce yourself, Liz. How are you?
I'm Liz, and I'm quite well. Thank you for asking, Erica. I have missed doing this. For those of you who don't know, I'm an anarcho feminist that is friends with Erica from Twitter, and I stop by sometimes to talk about how TERFs are really assholes. All right. Thank you, Erica.
And then, of course, we have just give me a sec. Just give me a fucking second, okay? We have Lexi. How are you doing today, Lexi?
I'm good, and ADHD is a hell of a condition. Yes, I'm just doing a random accent to be silly. I'm kind of high. But no, actually, I am well. For those new to me, my Twitter pretty much speaks for itself. If you want to know about me, at DG Alexis Ivory, I will probably say the rational thoughts somewhere along the line that can piss every corner of society off. And that is why I will never be of status, fame, or notoriety in society, except for most of society probably hating me because I'm
Okay.
a lot for a lot of people. That is it.
With all of that said, so there's been a lot of bullshit that we've been dealing with, at least in the trans community, for the past few days, given the recent shooting. And of course, conservacucks have been jumping on the ban trans and ban trans gun owners bandwagon. It's hilarious watching conservatives scream my Second Amendment, my fucking Second Amendment, and then of course not actually giving a fuck about the Second Amendment when it comes to a group that they don't like.
Hey, Erica, are you old enough to remember when after a mass shooting, people would say, but we can't talk about politics just yet, and it's too soon. But apparently, if they think that the shooter is trans, it's never too soon.
Yes,
I
well,
have I have strong opinions on this, and anybody who really wants to know my level of consistency with the Second Amendment, and not just trans folks, but every other minority. More or less, the condensed version is uh, armed minorities are harder to oppress, and I'm standing by that. Thank you.
I would agree.
I believe that is fact.
It's true. Which
Give
is
me a
why,
second
even
here.
though I get a little high, if I own guns, I'm now a felon and I can go to a federal prison. So I do the unregulated route. Crossbows, that's my forte, and I have hyper hearing, and guns will ultra fuck with me regardless of whether or not I get high. So that's ultra confirming why I want to do crossbows. And
I'm very pro people arming themselves. I personally always carry around a split or switchblade no matter where I go. I don't
I
carry a
don't care.
gun.
I don't care how people are armed. Although I'm going to give you the first advice with a switchblade, and this holds true because my late daddy was a Green Beret. Don't bring a knife to a gunfight. That's not going to end well. Just basic tip for basic combat. Know your situation. If you carry a switchblade, somebody's got a gun. As I've
Thank
told the
you.
people who are starting shit with ICE and wanting to destroy ICE vehicles, mind you, I don't like the feds. I think that the feds are a bunch of corrupt people. However, please pick smarter battles, because if the feds want you done, you have about a 0.00001% chance of getting off as innocent in a normal situation, Now, if you go and screw with ICE, you're kind of condemning yourself at the federal level. So, again, I don't like them. Pick smarter battles. Thank you.
Okay, so given the shooting, one of my friends reached out to me. It appears that he actually lived in the same complex as the shooter. And he received an email from the complex management, and we will go ahead and put that up on the screen. It says, "Dear residents."
Okay.
Dear,
I can barely read this because it's on a laptop.
Yeah, I'm going to read it. Dear residents, many of you have likely heard about the terrible tragedy that occurred this morning at Annunciation Catholic School, and you may have seen police and reporters on the property. We are deeply saddened to share that law enforcement has confirmed the alleged individual involved in today's tragic school shooting in Minneapolis was a resident of Linwood Commons. Our hearts go out to the victims, their families, and everyone impacted by this senseless act of violence. We recognize that this news may be upsetting and unsettling to many of you. Please know that the safety and well-being of our residents is our highest priority. We are cooperating fully with authorities as their investigation continues, and have been given no reason to believe any of our residents are currently in any danger. This is an incredibly difficult moment for our broader community, and we encourage anyone who feels affected to lean on available support resources. If you have questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out to our management office. Thank you for your compassion and understanding as we come together during this time of grief. With sympathy, Linwood Commons Apartments.
That was eloquently HR put.
Okay, so with all of that said, we know for a matter of fact that the shooter had at one time been trans. However, in the manifesto, he talks about having detransitioned and how the only thing that he has left from having transitioned was his long hair. And you can see in a lot of the pictures, a lot of the most recent pictures of him, that he has started growing his beard back.
Not surprising. That's typical with detrans. I've seen the female to male back to female. Mind you, their voices a lot of the time are kind of permanently screwed from hormones, but they try to be as feminine as they can in their presenting, so not surprising.
Okay, so Liz had asked me if I remembered the whole whether or not I remember how conservatives used to be like, it's no time to talk politics yet, but any time it's someone that they don't like, it's always the time to talk politics.
That's right.
Yes, I have noticed that hypocrisy.
Me, on the other hand, I'm consistent. If you don't want to talk about a topic, I'm a consistent Lilith, Scorpio, and tropical of I will talk about the tough topic. Now, that being said, I'm kind of an energy mirror and amplifier, so choose your conversations wisely with me. That's all.
Okay, so Matt Walsh decided to pop in with his bullshit, and here it is. Matt Walsh says it's time to have a national conversation about common sense restrictions on transgenders. Oh yeah. You wanna have common sense. Do you know what we talk about when it comes to common sense gun laws?
Basically least, violating the Second Amendment.
At least in the trans community, we talk about go fuck yourself.
My thing on common sense, anything to do with the Second Amendment, it don't matter the community, Stick the corn cob where the sun don't shine and hope and pray you don't need to go to the ER.
So, what gets me about this is, first of all, the idea that people with mental health issues are inherently dangerous to themselves or other. That's actually an evaluation checkpoint that you have in your mental health, not something that you are automatically having a problem with, just for starters. So, if you're depressed, you might not be suicidal. You might not be homicidal at all. You might just be depressed. Let people be depressed. It's not that big of a fucking deal. And then, second of all, like, is transgenderism a mental condition? Like, I know a lot of trans women who are just living their fucking lives. My girl, whose name I'm not going to say, was about to, who lives in Arizona, spent like the last 3 years until a recent breakup being the perfect mom to a stepdaughter that she dropped off to school, did her homework with. She cooked the most amazing dinners. She was obsessed with all the things that I, as a parent of a kid the same age, am obsessed with. I don't really see the mental illness. Like, I don't think that you can have perfectly mentally healthy trans people and then say they're all mentally unhealthy. Like, obviously, I can just look at transgender people who aren't having problems and be like, should my friend be allowed to carry a gun? Absolutely. She's transgender in fucking Tempe, Arizona, where the crazy people are, and they're armed too. Why shouldn't she have a gun?
I actually have a
Exactly.
story about military with a trans. I'm not going to name drop the person whose friend or either their names just strictly for their privacy. Like I've said, I have strong opinions. If you know a name, you can connect me to them. You can go after them. You can go after me. Privacy for their safety. But this friend of somebody I know, she has a friend who is trans in the military as a doctor. Now, this person is not, he actually is female to male. He is a surgeon, but he does not operate on gender surgeries or any plastic surgeries for that matter. He's like a normal health type surgeon. I don't know his specific field, but mind you, he runs a support group for trans youth, though he does not encourage HRT. He's just there as support, as running a support group, but there's no talks of go take HRT if you're underage. I respect that. Now, the military gave him an ultimatum of you can either retire from the military yourself and we will give you an honorable discharge, or you can choose not to and you will get dishonorably discharged. Now, considering of the crazy activist stuff I see on social media, I'm nuanced of like, that's screwed up, but I understand where it comes from. And I don't approve of it, but I understand it.
All right, so then we had this asshole jump into everything. Rothmus. I used to follow this asshole.
I did too.
He is certainly no anarchist, even though he flies the black flag in his profile.
And he's no libertarian either, because you take anti-state out of it. Libertarianism is more so do whatever you want if you're a consenting adult and leave the kids alone. And I find a lot of libertarians don't live up to that. Thank you.
Yeah,
A lot of them would like to not leave the kids alone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So he posts mass shooting rates by demographic, 2015 to 2025. There's a problem here. What is it, Liz?
What the problem that the most common thing that all the shooters have in common is in fact being white men?
No,
Not
this is overly inflated to say trans,
they're definitely
non-binary,
fucking with the
biologically male at the
statistic.
top, trans women.
So there have been, as far as I know, 3 transgender shooters if this person is confirmed to be transgender. 3
yeah. So
total.
it's
Out of thousands.
here's where the data is bad. When did we start experiencing mass shootings, like publicized mass shootings?
Oh, that's a real. I can answer this one. When I was 16.
Yeah,
Hold on a
1997.
second. I was 18 in 2001. So I would say 1999, 1998 was Columbine.
Yeah,
I want to say
Columbine.
I want to say it was more around 96, but I might be remembering wrong. I was actually going to comment on that and say Columbine as well. And just a bit of meticulous. I hate that I know this information about Columbine. It was not originally supposed to be a shooting. The bullied teenagers were going to plan to bomb Columbine, but that went south and they had to improvise. And
Yeah,
and I hate that I know this information.
So when it comes down to it, they're missing 15 plus years of statistics. Columbine was the first mass shooting in the collective consciousness of our generation.
Yep.
Late Gen X, early millennials. That's our first mass shooting. That's our first publicized mass shooting. And a very few of us remember the postal office bombing. Very, very few of us.
Yeah.
And more people are probably gonna not remember Oklahoma City and Ruby Ridge and Waco type of stuff to the more extremes, except for those of us who are heavily involved in political discourse in terms of hating the government.
I would argue that Columbine was unique, and first of all, it was the first time that it was a school, and also because the shooters didn't. Well, hold on. This is why I'm bringing it up. The shooters didn't have like a political terrorism thing. They were just shooting kids, which is, I think, the reason why we go with Columbine as the starting range is because that is when it starts to become a male entitlement epidemic to other people's lives.
Yeah, and I actually have I actually have something to add into Columbine. Marilyn Manson got blamed for his music being part of the whole crap why they went and shot up the school. And the interviewer was obviously trying to bait Manson. And he's like, if like you had heard of these kids doing that, what would you have done? And Marilyn was very polite, civil, and cordial about it. And I respect him for this response. He goes, I would have done exactly that. What other people would not have done with them, I would have listened to them. And I respect Marilyn Manson forever for that statement in an official interview. And anybody who wants to find it, you can go to YouTube.
It's in the Bowling for Columbine movie too.
Yeah, I mean, like, I did a little bit of hybrid, so I'm just sort of chill, and I'm monitoring chat, looking at Twitter, and I got Discord, so if at any point in the future I can just go in the chat after this is recorded, I can link it. But I know how to find it.
Okay, so next up, we have Bow-Tied Ranger.
Hold on a second. Before we move on, can I take a brief absurdist moment to complain about something else that was going on during this? So there were a lot of people pretending that Robin isn't a unisex name, and I know this has nothing to do with our right to bear arms or being transgender, but how the fuck are you going to say that you don't know that Robin was originally a male name? Have you never heard of Robin Williams? Did you not hear about Robin Thicke during that whole thing when he was in trouble like a few years back? Like, how do you not know that Robin is a man's name and a girl's
Batman
name?
and Robin.
Batman and Robin.
I was about to comment that. I was going to say from the nerdy perspective, Robin Boy Wonder.
Right? Oh, 100%. Like, the most jaw-dropping part of this conversation was like, there was one person who was like, Robin's a girl's name, and actually, not to be that person, but Robin is in fact a variation of Robert that came to us through England, and it originally was a boy's name, and then girls started using it because of the pretty Barbie.
It's true. And I'm going to make a comment about what Lexi is short for, Alexis. It depends on where you're at in the region of Earth. If you're in the more Nordic Scandinavians, that's pronounced as like Alexi, and that is a man's name. Now, if you're in the Anglo world, the English-speaking world. It's Alexis, and that is a woman's name. So, depending on where you at and the pronunciation, you are either saying a feminine name or a masculine name. And that is just objective to language barriers.
Yeah, I know some Russian Lexis.
So,
Yeah.
Before you think I know a lot of Russians.
Oh yeah, I forgot Alexei outside of Nordic and Scandinavians is also Slavic as well. There you go.
So Bowtied Ranger came in, and this is just. I am not a Second Amendment absolutist. I'm 100% in favor of gun control with regard to not allowing trans goblins or black people to own or possess firearms. Racist much? The founding fathers would
racist,
hold on.
definitely.
Hold on. The founding fathers would certainly agree with me on this as well. As a matter of fact, I can't imagine them keeping a straight face if I went back in time and asked them if transgenders and black people should be allowed to own or possess firearms. They'd probably kick me out of the room just for asking.
I kind of want to kick him out of the room and not with my foot.
I mean this sincerely, you would have a really uphill battle convincing them that transgender was a problem for anything.
You'd have,
Okay, first of all, back then, men used to entertain each other by dressing up as women. So, like, you would have a very steep hill to climb to convince them that this wasn't just men having shenanigans, and then they would just be like,
Days
"Leave me alone." Right? Like you just couldn't get it through. I don't think their head. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
wigs, high heels, fucking
No women allowed
foundation.
on stage, so like all the ladies were played by men. Like people really think that drag is like a new thing too. But when did the tradition start that as soon as you get away from shore, the sailors dress up like women? Like this is a thing we do. That's an old British tradition.
It goes back as old as Shakespeare in the 1400s when women were not allowed to act on stage. It was very much more what trad cons want to fantasize about while living in Western America 2025 and engaging in the modern trad stuff of what women are more trad with now. But if you want to think about it, you want to be trad, but go on a... No, in the 1400s, if technology existed, you would not have been allowed on podcasts. They couldn't even act on stage. That is not the trad thing that you want to be consistent about. So unless you're ready to go back to that, I want you to shut your mouth on trad right now. Thank you.
I'm gonna have to keep it 100. I'm pretty sure that the Greeks didn't allow women on stage either.
No, absolutely
but
not.
that was just a very few centuries ago, and within a few centuries we got really different about what we consider trad. And I'm just saying, unless all these trad cons want to go back to Shakespeare days, Greek days, and be consistent about that, and the women who are trad are consistent with that too, I want you, if you're consistent about that and you are a trad commentator podcast woman, I want you to get the hell off the internet right now and be consistent with what you line up with, or you're a hypocrite and I disavow you from any social media discourse.
Yeah, this is the same argument as, you know, oh, the founding fathers just wanted us to have muskets and lead balls. Okay, well
I've
then
seen that.
your First Amendment only applies to the town square and fucking parchment and a quill pen.
Mm-hmm.
Stop
And
your
also the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable searches and seizures, it only really applies to cops. No, it also applies to the government and the Fed boys not having that as well. But I don't see people arguing for the Fourth Amendment.
So
you know what tradition we should bring back? Dropping off young people away from home and making them survive on their own when they're like 13, just to prove to themselves that they're adult. I think it's good for them.
Yeah. I'm gonna tie some of this. I'm gonna tie some of this together. Now, the next person that I'm bringing into this, her name on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, her name on there is called Supreme Misery, and this is a fairly suggestive.
He sounds lovely.
Suggestive photo, so please no one fucking knock this stream down because of it.
Supreme
Hey.
Misery. I just want to comment on the
Yeah.
name and say I think she might be a little bit demonic in that name. And judging by the outfit, I don't like to judge. I like God to have final judgment, but on just a basic aesthetic with a name, because I operate with sound and visuals.
Yeah. So
I
sh-
can
so
I can have my assumptions on what happens on her final judgment. That is all.
so she is what I would now consider a gun bunny.
Yes.
She is.
Yes.
She is. She
Absolutely.
is.
Yes.
She is not what I would consider a 2A absolutist. But she's about to claim, as you can see here, that she is a 2A absolutist. She says, 2A absolutist here, if you can freely walk the streets as an American citizen, then you can freely own a firearm. If you can't own a firearm, then you shouldn't be freely walking the streets. And generally, I agree with that. Generally. Except for the fact...
If I can't own a firearm, then I shouldn't be freely walking the streets. From a stoner's perspective, I agree with that. We didn't used to bar you from firearm ownership until the crackdown on cannabis and the war on drugs. And they really want to focus more on stoners who get high maybe once a week because the THC stays in our system longer than any other drug. But oh my gosh, crackheads, meth heads, heroin addicts. Let's not focus on them and what bars them from owning a gun. No, if you're in possession of weed, and I always hear this argument about government simps, weed, you can't own guns, and they always make excuses. And I love my circles on Twitter being like, you know what, anything that bars you from owning a gun infringes on the Second Amendment. And the fact that you get high and you can't own a gun, that's disgusting. My words paraphrasing them.
Oh, wait.
Have you tried
Anyway,
getting your medical card?
So here's...
I live in a rec legal state. I live in Maryland, so I can get either legal medical or recreational, but it don't really matter. At the federal level, medical or recreational, I'm barred.
Here's where she becomes inconsistent on her 2A absolutism.
There you go.
Evan Kilgore. Yeah, I don't like this person. Trannies shouldn't be allowed to own guns. Who agrees? Well, guess what? She agrees. In this.
The fact that his last name is Kilgore, I have opinions I'm going to keep to myself.
I believe I retweeted this and said that only women and transgender people should be allowed to own guns.
Oh, yes, you did. She says because they are mentally ill and a danger to themselves and others when hormones are being pushed into them like crack rocks. Bitch, excuse me, but
cisgender men do 98% of the violent crime in this world.
I am going to comment about this, right? I'm gender nonconforming. I keep balanced hormones through HRT stuff, whatever. But point is that I keep crossbows. Now, the people I live with, really, my mother figure really doesn't want guns in the house because I have PMDD hormones, not PMS. So essentially, my shit is violent. However, my stuff stops at verbally lashing you with my tongue. And if, in the case of my father figure, if you really want to be disrespectful to somebody I care about when I tell you, don't disrespect the person, I might just pull your shirt and clip saying, hey, shut the hell up, and you perceive that as a threat and you start a fight. Cool, awesome, that's on you. That is you. However, this whole I'm scared for you to have guns, it's like, well, at the time this happened, I've had crossbows. Did I go and get my crossbow and my bolt and put it in my dad? No, I didn't do that. That's stupid. That's beyond brain dead. But that's the argument that these people have, is that if you're naturally prone to violence, you shouldn't own a gun. It's like, no, I'm verbally violent. I can leave it at my fist if you want to physically come at me. Now, however, if you directly threaten Erica's life, I've said this on Timeline, she has my crossbow. If you threaten her life with me interacting in the real world, I'll sense of humanity, and my mind goes out the window, and I ice over, and I am vengeful. Wrath and anger are my deadly sins for a reason that I surrender to the Lord. Don't harm other people, and you won't have my issue. Especially for somebody I care about. Thank you. Sorry.
Calm down.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have said before, I'm a lot for a lot of people, and there's a reason why most people hate me.
It's okay. So she's arguing that we are dangerous to ourselves and others just because we're on hormones. Excuse me.
Yes.
What about men that have to have testosterone replacement therapy? What about women who go through menopause and have to go on estrogen? Are they now also mentally unstable, like a danger to themselves and others just because they're on hormones? No, you're stupid.
Yeah, I mean, that's the slippery slope that nobody really wants to talk about. Is that okay? It starts at the trans folks and the non-binaries and the gender non-conformings. However, it doesn't end there. It never does. You give the government an inch and they will take a mile. So ban hormone replacement therapy for trans folks. Okay, cool. You get the wrong person in office, and much like people with the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, just in general, just take this out of it. You're sawing off the branch you're sitting on, because as soon as I don't know which, a woke Democrat, whoever, leftist, right? As soon as they get into office, this protection is out the window. They're going to now screw over cisgender people who have to, I don't know, I have to take testosterone shots because I have low T, or I'm going through menopause, but I don't want the masculinizing effects, so I'm taking artificial estrogen and progesterone to keep my hormones in check so I stay my typical feminine self. Yeah, guess what? You're sawing off the bench you're sitting on, because now, hey, guess what? They don't like you. Now you're getting affected.
They tried this before. It was a two-step approach. They tried it with veterans that were diagnosed with PTSD. Veterans would go to the VA, they'd get diagnosed with PTSD, and then they'd pop up in NICS. Which
sorry, my processing. What is NICS?
That's what I was about to explain. If you don't know what NICS is, NICS stands for the National Instant Criminal System, or Criminal Check System.
Thank you, girl.
It's what FFLs have to use in order to run a background check when you buy a firearm, or if you go and get a concealed carry weapons permit. That's what they run your 4473 against.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the simple fact of the matter. Now, I've also run into people on X this week who think that if you're mentally ill, you cannot own a gun. That's not what the 4473 says. The 4473, Form 4473 from the ATF, very clearly asks if you have been adjudicated mentally defective or committed to a mental institution. Committed requires it be involuntary. If you check yourself in and spend 72 hours there and you leave, you were not committed.
Yes. And I have something to go on where it's on a different sector of society, like violent criminals. I'm just throwing this in because technically this mass shooter is a violent criminal. I live in the state of Maryland. These gun control people say stop gun crime. I'm going to tell you right now, right? Most gun crimes are not committed with rifles. They're committed with handguns. Now, in the state of Maryland, I have to take a gun safety class just to get a handgun license. Now, Maryland has some of the strictest gun control in the country. Baltimore, I get their news. The basic condensed version is there's a repeat rotation of homicide, shooting, car crash, and maybe something going on with our governor and the Baltimore City mayor. Now, Baltimore is known for homicide, and we're like in the top 5 most dangerous cities in the whole entire nation. Gun control does not work the way you think it does for any reason you want to give. whether it be trans people being mentally ill or violent criminals. Again, this detransitioner was a violent criminal. It's not going to go the way you want, and it's probably going to take trans people out of it in my circles on Twitter with military and very constitutional people. It's not going to go the way you want. Now, if you want to come and disarm anyone, don't have the state do it, don't vote it in. Have the nuts to do it yourself, or you are just somebody who's a tyrant by force of others. Now, I'm just going to say, if you believe in, like, higher beings, Dracos are naturally violent, either to oppose or enforce tyranny. The people who are enforcing your tyranny, they may not be Draco Starseeds, but they have that very same energy. They are going to violently take your guns. Like, I don't know, I'm a gun owner. I'm not taking your gun. No, when they do that, it's going to be through the boot of a state. That is what's going to happen. It'll be forceful gun removal from you. And you're either going to be in prison, arrested, or if you fight back, hey, guess what? Now you're threatening their life. You're now dead. That's what's going to happen. There is going to be bloodshed.
Okay,
That's what happens with the Buddha tyranny, with gun control. So, anyways, I'll stop. I'm going down the rabbit hole.
This is what happens when you have a bunch of ADHD as fuck people on one podcast, but it's okay.
I am ADHD to hell. I'm mildly autistic, and I don't just have ADHD. I'm a manic brain, so my brain essentially never shuts up, and I sometimes go from hyperfixation to obsessive fixation, and that's why I caught myself, and I'm like, okay, I just need to shut up, because otherwise I'm just going to go off for like half an hour.
So the last thing here is, again, from Evan Kilgore, and he says, it should be illegal to be transgender. Who agrees?
I think it should be illegal to say that kind of shit, but that would violate the First Amendment, so I'm not going to say it.
Yes, it would be illegal to make what he said illegal. However, a lot of conservatives throughout a lot of the gun confiscation discussion have used phrases like stack up and fuck around and find out. And this demonstrates a willingness to use force to protect one's rights. Well, in all of this, over the past couple of years, there has been new sentiment across the trans community. And the phrase is death before detransition. It's the same sentiment as stack up or fuck around and find out. We're not just going to kill you because we don't like you. That's not how this works. It's you come and try to forcefully detransition us, you're going to catch these fists.
I am just going to make a comment of the religious variety. If anybody believes in this, take my words for whatever you may, right? Death before detransition, no. My government middle name is Michelle. My patron angel is Archlord Michael, who will fight Satan in the final battle, and his name translates to honor and valor. I choose the saying death before dishonor. Now, if you want to say be illegal to be transgender, you're violating freedom of expression, whatever. And if you want to disarm trans people in general, you're violating the Second Amendment. And if you're pro-Constitution and you unironically say this crap, you're not honorable. And in terms of valor, that requires honor to begin with. And if your name, first or middle, is Michael, you disgrace him. And I disavow you as a middle name, Michelle. Thank you.
Hey, Liz.
It's fun to... What?
Oh, I was going to ask you a question.
Yes.
What is the most ironic thing to see on bumper stickers when it comes to gun people?
Ooh. I don't know. I don't look at bumper stickers.
Okay.
I will say what mine is for the sake of this discussion. Mine's a Reaper skull wrapped in a very tattered American flag. That's on the tailgate of my truck. I am very consistent in the fact that if you come after me, it's not going to go the way you're going to. Thank you.
The most ironic thing to have as two separate bumper stickers as a Second Amendment supporter is a blue line flag next to a Gadsden flag.
I am in wholehearted agreement. You either back authority or you back freedom. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. You just want, in that case, freedom by the permission of authority. Now,
They should cut out the middleman
now,
and just have a sticker that says "Tread on me, Daddy."
now, as a draconic chart, Lilith, primal, dark and divine feminine energy. In that chart, outside of Lilith, Scorpio, and Tropical, I'm a Sagittarius. I am untamed rebellion, freedom, and independence. I bow to no authority except for the Lord. Try me. It's not going to go the way you want. I am stubborn, spiteful to a fault. I will listen to people, including my own parental figures and maybe Erica, about 20% of the time if you tell me what to do. In terms of relationships, I'm a dummy mommy. Thank you.
Okay.
So I was gonna say, sorry, before you ask me the question, the anti-trans argument is fundamentally un-American, and it's also anti-capitalistic. If you in a capitalistic society can afford to buy the body you want, is it not and I'm not saying that I believe this personally, but in the America I was raised in, is it not the most American thing ever to be like, actually, God made a mistake, let me fix this? Because, like, were we raised in the same country or what?
Well,
and not only is it against our Constitution to try to inhibit somebody's rights to express themselves freely, especially if it doesn't harm other people, but just like the idea that if you feel like you want to be like have bigger tits or like change your face or whatever, like that's not like that is not who we are fundamentally.
I am going to comment on that, like with God, the God aspect is that like you can be gay or trans and Christian. It comes down to what does God consider a sexual sin, and you need to more or less meditate with God on that and find out where your sexual sin and your sexual ego is, and meditate with Christ to find out how you should live. Now, again, in terms of what God considers to be sexual sin, it's not the attraction. It is the act.
I was literally just using God there as a fill-in because
I know. I just want to throw that out there for the Christians who may watch this who are pro anti-trans gun rights. It's like, because that's predominantly a lot of what I see on Twitter is specifically Christian anti-trans people. Now, again, as a Christian gender nonconformist, again, the sin is not, I don't know, I'm bisexual. Whatever the case is for you, the sexual sin is not your natural attraction. Everybody has that in a fallen world. It's a case of meditate with God and find out where you need to, if you want to be Christian, find out where you need to more align your life. That's not judgment from me. That is with anyone, right? You don't have to be gay. You could be straight, cisgender, whatever, watching this, and you're Christian, right? You unironically accusing and condemning trans people from the Second Amendment. I'm going to tell you who's the actual accuser and the condemner, and it's not God. It's straight up Satan. Because I can tell you, as a former natural witch who served a blood god in Mardigan, after I found Christ on Monday of Holy Week of this week after spending 2 decades hating God. And I'm telling you right now, to all the Christians watching this who want to be anti-trans and shit, as soon as I found Christ, Mardigan entered my sandbox in my sleep and crucified me by force. And I looked at her, stared her down, and made her flinch. More or less, my untamed rebellion of you can go through yourself. And yeah, so you want to judge and condemn trans people with the Second Amendment? Really? I hope that you are right and God on your own life and are consistent and you truly are not committing blasphemy in your own life. I'm just going to hope that for you because I want you to inherit heaven when you die. However, if you are very much like this with trans people on the Second Amendment and you want to violently take guns from them, I hold no sympathy if that backfires on you. That's
Yeah,
all.
well,
What about
Go
my
ahead.
point about it being against capitalism to be anti-trans, though?
Yeah.
but
Honestly,
no,
though,
no, no.
honestly,
Hold
I
on,
don't care.
hold on. When it comes down to it, I can sum this up all in one. We are a
Yes.
capitalist society. Getting surgeries is going to benefit a capitalist society. On top
Yes.
of that, in a Christian society, God gives his his strongest warriors his most
Their toughest
difficult
task.
tasks.
Yes,
So,
yes,
for God's sake,
yes. I can say this right now. The most difficult task I ever done was not coming out as gender nonconformist or bisexual. Come to find out, I'm more femme leaning, whatever. Right? It's not about that. That's not the toughest battle I ever did. The toughest battle was 2 decades hating God and saying on this podcast, I'm a dark guardian of the Lord, and if you come after me, you're gonna hate who I am in Christ because it's not gonna be the type of guardian you think to be of God because dark angels exist. Azrael, Samael, and Abaddon, within their own rights, they are venom, death, and destruction of God. So if you want to talk about like, oh my God, angels, no, angels aren't nice. No, no, no. I I personally have the direct contact. If you believe in the four horsemen, war's gonna be of God on that day. I have his direct number, and he's never judged me at all. Right? War has never judged me. He's only pointed me to Christ. Right? To tell me to get a relationship with Christ. So
okay, we're
yeah,
getting off in the weeds here.
Sorry. I'm spiraling. I'm sorry.
Um,
Point is, in a capitalist society, if you want to say this shit, anti-trans, I'm just gonna say something else. Take trans out of it. All this smash capitalism. You are typing your blog on a MacBook Pro at Starbucks, the most bougie coffee on the planet, but it's kind of mediocre in comparison to other stuff. But then when you're confronted of like, okay, well, like, stop engaging in capitalism. Go move to a socialist society. But they make the excuses of like how they can't do. Nobody's forcing you to stay in America. You can go get allegiance to another country of socialist variety and live the life you think America should be. Nobody's forcing you to stay here.
okay,
But they want to
we
engage in
have
capitalism while being socialist.
we have run out of time.
I'm sorry, girl.
Okay, so needless to say, the simple fact of the matter is, when it comes to firearms and trans people, it is not whether or not you are mentally ill, it's whether or not you are mentally defective and have been adjudicated as such by a court of law.
This is true.
Individual rights are individual. You cannot take them away by blanket legislation. They have to be taken away individually. If someone is, in fact, mentally defective, you have to go through the court system. It has always been this way. If someone is a danger to themselves or others, either get them committed through a court or get them adjudicated mentally defective through a court. You cannot go any other way.
Yep.
With all of that being said, let's do quick outros, 1 minute tops for both of you. Start, Liz.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on today. And like, I don't know, leave trans people alone. I say this all the time, but they make up less than 1% of the population. 98% of violent crimes are done by cisgendered men. We're just like all focusing on the wrong issues with society, when there was also the clear Nazism written on his gun and all of the internet memes, and we didn't even get into like where the shooter was hanging out online and the discords that he was hanging out in, and how those are interconnected to other internet micro communities that seem to pop up these kind of things. And I really think that at some point we need to look at people's media diets to understand them better and examine that, and not whether or not they happen to be trans. Thank you.
Yeah. And then, of course, Lexi.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Erica. As Liz, I mean, like, Erica's known me on Twitter for a while. For a lot of people, I tend to go off when I'm very passionate. I'm very fiery, passionate, but I have the best of intentions and I like to think I'm rational. But that's for you to decide. And my final thoughts is, don't disarm anyone. It's going to go violently the way you don't think it'll be. Thank you.
Okay, with all of that said, I'm going to hearken back to the old days of this podcast and say fuck the government and fuck the audience. Appreciate everyone, and we will talk to you later.